Women don't belong at West Point. 3 cadets said it right before they shoved Lieutenant Brin Callaway down a stairwell at the United States Military Academy. What they didn't know was that her grandfather wore 4 stars, her father died earning a silver star, and she had survived worse than a broken rib and a shattered wrist. And when 3 generals walked onto that campus 72 hours later and locked every gate behind them, those cadets learned that some families don't forgive. They remember. Brin Callaway was 26 years old and sitting in a sterile office at the Academy Hospital, her left wrist wrapped in a cast and her ribs taped tight beneath her uniform. The pain was sharp every time she breathed, but she kept her face neutral, while the military police investigator across the desk asked her to repeat what happened 3 days ago at West Point. She had graduated from the academy 2 years prior, commissioned as an infantry officer, and deployed once to Afghanistan before being selected to return as a tactical officer overseeing 4th-year cadets. She was one of the youngest TACs on post and one of the relatively few women in the role. Her job was to mentor, evaluate, and enforce standards. It was supposed to be an honor. Instead, it had become a fight for respect she thought she had already earned. She grew up at Fort Bragg, the daughter of a Special Forces captain who was killed in action when she was 14. Her grandfather, retired General Thomas Callaway, was a legend in the Army. He had commanded divisions, shaped policy, and built a reputation that still opened doors decades after his retirement. Wherever you are watching from, drop a comment below and let me know. And if you believe stories like this matter, go ahead and subscribe. Brin's father taught her to shoot when she was 10. He took her to the range on weekends, showed her how to control her breathing, how to call windage, and how to treat a weapon with respect. He never told her she was too small or too young or too anything. He just taught her the work and expected her to do it right. When he died in Kandahar, she made a promise at his funeral that she would finish what he started. West Point was brutal. Plebe year broke people who came in thinking they were tough. Brin learned that physical strength mattered, but mental endurance mattered more. She ran until her legs gave out, then kept running. She studied until her eyes burned, then kept studying. She graduated in the top 15% of her class, branched infantry, and deployed as a platoon leader with the 82nd Airborne. In Afghanistan, she led 30 soldiers on patrols through villages where every doorway was a potential ambush. She earned their trust by being consistent, calm, and competent. She did not ask them to do anything she would not do herself. When she came home, she was offered the TAC position at West Point. It felt like coming full circle. She thought returning to the academy as an officer would be different than being a cadet. She was wrong. The 3 cadets were 4th years, all male, all from families with no military background. Their names were Cadet First Class Derek Hollis, Cadet First Class Jared Finch, and Cadet First Class Carter Brin. They were average students, below average leaders, and well known for complaining about the new diversity and inclusion policies at the academy. They did not hide their resentment. Brin had written them up twice in the past month, once for failing a barracks inspection, once for disrespecting a female cadet during a leadership exercise. Both times they appealed the paperwork and accused her of bias. Both times the appeals were denied. The tension escalated. They started making comments in the hallways. Small things, just loud enough for her to hear. They called her a quota hire. They said she only got her commission because of her last name. They said she would never have made it through Ranger School if the standards had not been lowered. The incident happened on a Wednesday afternoon in Washington Hall, the massive academic building at the center of campus. Brin was walking down the main stairwell between classes when she saw the 3 of them at the top of the landing. Hollis said something to the others, and they all turned to look at her. She kept walking. She was used to the stairs, but then Finch stepped forward, blocking her path. He said women don't belong at West Point. He said it loud enough for the cadets around them to hear. Brin told him to step aside. He did not move. Then Brin shoved her. She fell backward, her body twisting, her hands reaching for the railing but missing. She hit the stairs hard, her ribs cracking against the stone edge, her wrist snapping as she tried to catch herself. She tumbled down 6 steps before she stopped. The pain was instant and overwhelming. She could not breathe. She could not move. Cadets rushed to help her, but the 3 who pushed her were already gone. Brin spent that night in the hospital. X-rays showed 2 fractured ribs and a displaced fracture in her left wrist. The orthopedic consultant set the wrist with a cast, wrapped her ribs and offered painkillers she refused to take. The refusal was documented. She did not want to be numb. She wanted to feel everything so she would remember. She thought about her father. She thought about the last conversation they had before he deployed. He told her that the hardest part of being a leader was not the enemy. It was the people on your own side who did not believe you belonged. He said you could not make them believe. You could only prove them wrong over and over until they ran out of excuses. She thought about her grandfather. He had called her the night she got accepted to West Point. He told her she was carrying the family name, and that came with weight. He said people would expect more from her and forgive less. He said if she wanted respect, she would have to earn it twice. She understood that. But she had not expected betrayal from the people she was supposed to be training. The investigator who interviewed her was polite, but skeptical. He asked if she had provoked the cadets. He asked if there were any witnesses who could confirm her version of events. He asked if she was sure it was intentional or if it could have been an accident. Brin looked him in the eye and told him it was intentional. She told him their names. She told him everything. He wrote it down and said he would follow up. She did not believe him. The next morning, Brin received a call from the Academy's legal office. They told her the 3 cadets had filed a counter-complaint accusing her of harassment and professional misconduct. They claimed she had been targeting them for weeks because of personal bias. They said the incident on the stairs was an accident and that she had exaggerated her injuries to create a false narrative. Brin felt her chest tighten. She asked what evidence they had. The legal officer said they had statements from other cadets and were opening a formal investigation to review all claims. They had emails she had sent documenting the cadets' failures. They were using her own paperwork as part of the review. The officer said an investigation would take weeks, possibly months. Until then, she was being temporarily reassigned to administrative duties and told to avoid contact with the 3 cadets. She called her grandfather. She did not want to. She had spent her entire career trying to prove she could succeed without his help, but she was out of options. He answered on the second ring. She told him what happened. She did not cry. She just laid out the facts in the same flat tone she used for after-action reports. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said 3 words. I'll handle it. The next day, a black SUV arrived at West Point. 3 men in civilian clothes stepped out and walked directly into the superintendent's office. They did not schedule a meeting. They did not wait. One of them was a retired 4-star general. One was a sitting 2-star who had served with Brin's father. One was a senior official from the Department of the Army Inspector General's office. Within an hour, the superintendent had invoked an emergency security response order. Every gate at the academy was closed. No one was allowed in or out without clearance. Classes were suspended. The entire cadet corps was confined to barracks. In 48 hours, the investigative team had secured security footage, text message logs, and witness statements. They found what Brin already knew. The cadets had been planning this for weeks. Text messages showed them coordinating, mocking her, discussing how to force her out. The security footage showed them waiting at the top of the stairs, blocking her path and deliberately shoving her. Chain of custody was documented. Phone records were legally seized. The evidence was undeniable. The 3 cadets were detained by military police and escorted off campus in handcuffs. They were barred from commissioning and administratively separated pending courts-martial. Their families tried to intervene, hired lawyers, and claimed it was all a misunderstanding. It did not matter. Charges were preferred under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for assault, conduct unbecoming, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Full legal proceedings would follow. Brin was called into the superintendent's office. The 3 generals were there. Her grandfather was not. He had stayed away deliberately, letting the institution handle it without the appearance of family influence. The superintendent, a 3-star general, apologized. Not a vague institutional apology, a direct personal acknowledgement that she had been failed by the people who were supposed to protect her. He told her the investigation had uncovered a broader pattern of harassment targeting female cadets and officers. Reforms were being implemented immediately. A task force was being formed and would report back within weeks, and she was being offered a choice: She could stay at West Point and continue her role as a tactical officer with full support from leadership, or she could transfer to any assignment she wanted with a promotion and a commendation in her file. It was her decision. No pressure. No judgment. Brin stayed. She was not going to let 3 cowards chase her away from a place her father had dreamed of her attending. She returned to her duties with her wrist still in a cast and her ribs still healing. The cadets under her command looked at her differently now. Not with pity, with respect. They had seen what happened. They had seen her refuse to back down. They had seen the system, for once, work the way it was supposed to. The 3 cadets who attacked her were court-martialed over the following months. After convictions, they received confinement and punitive separations. Hollis was sentenced to 6 months and dismissed from service. Finch and Brin received similar outcomes. Their records showed the convictions and permanent bars from military service. Their names were removed from class rolls. Their families tried to appeal. The appeals were denied. Justice, when it finally came, was swift and absolute. Brin's grandfather called her a week after the detainments. He told her he was proud of her, not because of what happened, because of how she handled it. He said her father would have been proud too. She thanked him, but she did not need his validation anymore. She had proven something to herself. She belonged, not because of her last name, not because of her father or her grandfather. Because she had earned it, she kept leading. She kept teaching. She kept showing up every day and doing the work. And every time a female cadet walked past her in the hallway and nodded with quiet respect, she thought about her father and the lesson he taught her. Prove them wrong, over and over, until they run out of excuses.
I just want to take a moment to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you. Folded hands, your love, support, likes, comments, and subscriptions mean the world to me. Without you, this journey wouldn't be possible. Every view, every share, and every encouraging word keeps me motivated to create more content for you all. I'm truly grateful to have such an amazing community by my side. Let's keep growing together and making this journey even more special. Red Heart.